The Karen Read case generates yet another controversy, Duckgate.
Duckgate? What are you talking about? The police in the Karen Read investigation filed a 36-page investigation on rubber ducks. I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers.
This is a quacky situation going on in the Karen Read case, apparently. Well, quite a quack job, if you'll ask me. This is insane. So we're a little riled up, or not us, but some people in Massachusetts and other places, a little rightfully so, after seeing how deep this investigation has gone over these little rubber duckies that have been being left around Massachusetts with FKR, which is supposed to mean free Karen Read. This has become an issue when one of the duckies was left in a not so quacky, funny situation. Where was this duck found?
Oh, good grief. Yeah, these rubber ducks have been showing up all over Canton, Massachusetts with the little letters FKR, free Karen Read, on the bottom. But when one showed up outside the pizza shop that's owned by Chris Albert, brother to Kevin and Brian Albert, the Canton police launched a huge investigation. And yes, it was a 36-page report that went on. And even our friend, Massachusetts State Police investigator Michael Proctor got involved. So if none of this makes sense to you, let's just take a look at an article that was in the Boston Globe, and it's on boston.com, which kind of condenses it all better than we are right now. Rubber ducks, fake bills, inside the latest witness intimidation charges linked to the Karen Read case. This article starts out, a Stoughton man is facing criminal charges after authorities say he scattered rubber ducks around Canton in a show of support for Karen Read. And here's a little rubber ducky.
There's the offender.
Little rubber ducky left by Karen Read supporters outside Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey's office in Canton. The duck is rumored to symbolize defense attorney Alan Jackson's statement during a hearing: if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. So we're not going to read the whole article, but we are going to use this as an introduction to the 36-page police report. A barrage of rubber ducks branded with messages protesting the Karen Read case has prompted authorities to pursue witness intimidation charges in a bizarre episode some of Read's supporters have dubbed Duckgate.
Duckgate.
So now you see that I'm not making this up. So for months, we're going to take a look at some Duckgate paraphernalia in a few minutes. We have Duckgate T-shirts and Duckgate ducks, and even a phony $100 bill with a duck on it. But let's get through this first. For months, the toy ducks have been popping up around Canton, where you got to say that right. It's not Canton if you're from out of town. It's Canton.
Canton.
Where prosecutors say Read drunkenly and intentionally backed your SUV into her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, and left him to die on January 29, 2022. Read's lawyers allege she was framed in a vast law enforcement conspiracy, and they've sought to implicate the Alberts, a local family who owned the Fairview Road home where O'Keefe was found unresponsive in the snow. And of course, we all know this. Read's first trial ended in a hung jury and a mistrial July 1. A retrial is set to begin January 27. Okay, so there's the picture of Howard Brennan, who will be the prosecutor. The case has drawn national attention, with free Karen Read supporters gathering outside the courthouse during her trial and promoting the defense team's cover-up theory. Some of the scrutiny is focused on homeowner Brian Albert's nephew, Colin, who was present at 34 Fairview Road the night O'Keefe was killed, but purportedly left the home before Read and O'Keefe arrived. Colin Albert also testified there was no animosity, he said, between him and O'Keefe, his former neighbor. Yet in the months leading up to and following Read's trial, Canton police documented several incidents where rubber ducks and fake $100 bills bearing the tagline, "Call and Did It," popped up around town. A Stoughton man is now facing witness intimidation, harassment, and littering charges after officials say he was behind the months-long campaign. Now, you know what I thought of when they accused this guy of littering for leaving these ducks around?
Oh.
You ever walk around and you see those little rocks that people paint?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People,
yeah.
People paint these little rocks. They paint flowers, or they paint peace, or they paint
good messages.
And, I walk the rail trail a lot. And I see these little rocks all over the place. I pick them up, look at them, put them back down, let some kid pick them up. But so I've never heard of anybody being arrested for putting down these little rocks. Have you?
I honestly, you would think, I've never even heard of anybody getting a ticket or anything for littering, and you see trash all over the side of the road all the time anyway.
Yeah, I know. Not that it's a good thing, but
yeah, don't leave plastic out. But
I mean, people throw cigarette butts in my garden all the time, and as you know, it kind of makes me not happy. But anyhow, so I digress. Authorities allege that Richard Schiffler Jr. used rubber ducks and fake bills to frequently target a local pizza shop owned by Colin Albert's father, Canton Select Board member Chris Albert. Other alleged targets include a neighborhood where O'Keefe's family resides and a home belonging to, where's the dun, dun, dun?
Dun, dun, dun.
Embattled Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor, the lead investigator on Read's case. I would interject in this Globe article that if that's the worst thing that happens to Michael Proctor is that he gets a rubber duck on his lawn, he should thank his lucky stars.
Yeah, honestly, considering how much of a sensation this whole thing has been, that's more of the mild situations, thankfully.
Yeah, he's the Karen Read has no butt man. Anyhow, according to a statement of facts filed in Stoughton District Court, the first documented incident was in early March. More than a month before Read's trial began, police allegedly traced the ducks and fake $100 bills back to Schiffler through witness tips, traffic camera, and surveillance footage, and empty packages plucked from Schiffler's garage. Officers visited Schiffler in May in an attempt to recover data from his truck, allegedly finding yellow ducks and "Call and Did It" stickers inside the vehicle. So picture this. I mean, how absurd is that? In view of other cases in Canton, Massachusetts, they see these rubber ducks around town, and they actually track him through these license plate tracking cameras around town, and they also go through his trash. Does that sound like another case that we cover?
I was going to say, it's really interesting how much evidence police can find when they really put their minds to it. They really put in the 10 yards for this, and it does remind me of another case, and it's interesting because it seems that they put a lot more effort into this than some other cases, different police forces, but still.
And I have to mention here, I've read the comments and some other people that have approached this subject before me, now that we're doing, a sharper focus on it. And the comments were, you guys shouldn't really be making light of this situation. You shouldn't be laughing and, having fun with these little rubber ducks, which we are, when it's really actually, when you stop and think about it, it's a pretty serious thing. And we've talked about this before, dark humor. And it's not funny that it was in February of 2021 that Sandra Birchmore's body was found dead in Canton, Massachusetts. And the Canton police just kind of swept it under the rug as an unresponsive body, and they walked away. And it took the feds to come in 2.5, 3 years later and indict former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell because M is a state crime. The FBI had to kind of finagle a statute for M of a witness and victim. So it's not funny when you stop and think about it. Canton police just kind of walked away from that, an M case of a young woman. But again, I digress, and we'll go back to the things that the Canton police give priority to. And now we go to a police report. And here's part of the police report. I jumped forward to one of the later pages because it explains what the police believe and what may be behind the whole thing. And here we go. During a pretrial hearing, Karen Read's attorney, Alan Jackson, made an argument on behalf of his client. As part of his argument, he stated the following expression: if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. Prior to this pretrial hearing, Richard Schiffer has never had any involvement with the Commonwealth versus Read trial. He is a member of a society that followed the case through pretrial hearings, social media posts, and other forms of media coverage. So this is buried down on page 34 of the police report. And right now, let's go to the beginning of the police report. Okay, here it is. Canton Police Department. Narrative for Detective Timothy Taylor. Does that name ring a bell to you? Tim Taylor was the tool man.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, Tim Taylor was the tool man in a very popular TV series back in the 90s. I thought it was funny. Anyhow, so no, this is a different Tim Taylor. Very different Tim Taylor. Anyhow. Beginning in 2023, D&E Pizza and Subs, located at 618 Washington Street, started to become the target of several incidents, including but not limited to harassment. These ducks really, aren't you afraid of my duck over here? Some of these incidents led to the Canton Police Department conducting several criminal investigations and continue to the present day. So this investigation is not over, folks. After 36 pages, the investigation continues. So these investigations have led to several individuals being charged criminally with misdemeanors and or felonies. 2, as a result of one of these incidents in late October of 2023, I began an investigation into one particular matter. This investigation later led me to charge an individual with violations of MGL Chapter 269, false report of a crime to a police officer, and MGL Chapter 268, obstruction of justice. D&E Pizza and Subs is a family business owned and operated by Chris Albert. His son, Colin Albert, frequents the business. Imagine that. You have a pizza joint and your son goes there. Imagine that.
Oh, my goodness. The whole thing is weird to conceptualize too, because I guess they must be in on it to some degree, because if you just see like these little ducks everywhere, nobody's even thinking about this. I mean, the finding a dollar bill that says Colin Do It is a little bit worse, but my gosh.
And like I said, I see these little rocks all over the place. They're all over town. I see them here and there on the rail trail. I see them on the sidewalk. I see, and I've never heard of anybody getting in trouble for it. In fact, usually people say, "Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that nice?" But Chris
targeted
what?
Targeted ducks.
Targeted ducks.
Weapons of duck destruction.
The plot thickens, everyone. The plot thickens. Both Chris and Colin Albert are witnesses in the ongoing Commonwealth versus Read trial. Prior to the trial commencing in 2024, Colin Albert testified before a federal grand jury. Also, prior to the trial, both Chris and Colin Albert testified before a Massachusetts grand jury. Their grand jury testimonies were given prior to March of 2024. They both appeared on the Commonwealth versus Read witness list. Both Chris and Colin did later to go on and testify as witnesses to the case. January 29th, 2022, John O'Keefe was discovered outside the property of 34 Fairview Road. I think our viewers pretty much, what happened in that case. I'm going to jump down to this paragraph here because a police report, folks, is supposed to be facts. I went here, I did that. I saw this. I interviewed Lainey Law. She admitted she has some ducks. It's supposed to be facts. A police report is factual. But this police report deviates from that general idea by getting into this particular officer's thoughts and feelings and, kind of narrative about what was going on. I mean, look at this paragraph here. Look at this paragraph here. Can you see that? Maybe I make it a little bit bigger. Now he's talking about the testimony of the two Alberts on the stand. This testimony and evidence made it impossible for Colin Albert to be a suspect in John O'Keefe's death, contrary to the conspiracy theory that Colin Albert emmed John O'Keefe. Now, that he can't even say that because, first of all, there was never a conviction in the case. And both of the Alberts' testimony was vigorously cross-examined. And yes, indeed, in fact, there was evidence that John O'Keefe did go inside 34 Fairview Road. If you looked at the fitness app, it said that he went in and he was going up and down stairs. So that's just false. And it's an opinion. Now, the officer is entitled to an opinion after he gets off work and he goes down to the Waterfall bar and maybe has a couple, like all the other officers in Canton. And he can, we all have opinions. We all have opinions and other things. And he's entitled to his. But to put it right here in the police report, that is an opinion. That is not a fact. And it doesn't belong in a police report.
36-page police report.
Oh, and we're not going to do all 36 pages.
They got a lot of space to write some extra details.
I am going to link this police report down in the description. So if you do want to read all 36 pages, but we're just going to highlight it. This conspiracy has led to various harassment and littering incidents. Now, remember, littering is like leaving a duck out. You leave a duck, just like the kids leave those little peace rocks and flowered ducks. And by the way, whoever put this on my microphone, I'm going to arrest them for littering. This conspiracy has led to various harassment and littering incidents, including but not limited to, oh, this guy sounds like a lawyer, including, we like that scene, including but not limited to use of the tagline, Colin did it, stamped in red ink on counterfeit $100 bills. And the same phrase attached to yellow rubber ducks via a sticker. These incidents have led to a social movement that has harassed Chris and Colin Albert, telling them to tell the truth, and they cannot duck the truth about John O'Keefe's death. So we've been reading the police report and also some print articles, and, you know, print journalists don't really think visually. They have a photographer that might take a picture or two. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Duckgate. Well, here's a T-shirt that's available. You can go online and buy this. Duckgate. You can buy this T-shirt online about what's going on in Canton.
Beyond just even buying the T-shirt, though, it's I don't know how many of our viewers are from the New England area, but like I saw the other day, there was a Karen Read protest on one of the bridges in New Hampshire. These, like, you know, we're saying like, oh, they have these ducks near the pizza place, but I'm sure at some point, like if you're walking around Boston or something, you're gonna see people potentially wearing these shirts. It's like funny that, or not necessarily funny because we don't want to bully and harass people, but it's interesting that this even exists in the first place. But these are things that you'll actually see. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I went to one of the standouts over above one of the major interstates in and out of Boston, I-93. And yeah, people were wearing stuff like this. So there's the T-shirt. The bar, actually the pizza joint, D&E Pizza and Subs. This is owned by Chris Albert. And there's a bench out front, which, by the way, is not owned by Chris Albert. It's public property. So whoever left the ducky on the bench, it was public property. It was not on his property. Now here's a random duck. They're showing up all over Canton, and I assume this is just on a random heating HVAC unit outside of a building somewhere. This is the one that was outside Michael Morrissey's office, the prosecutor, the district attorney for Norfolk County. This is just some rubber duckies that were in the literature somewhere. I don't know. I doubt if that's Canton, because Canton
does not have nice beaches.
As far as I know, no. And this is from the Herald. We're going to look at the Boston Herald in a minute, but this is a graphic that they put together. Operation Rubber Ducky, Joint Synthetic Waterfowl Task Force. They have fun with these stories. Now here is a display of the duckies and the dollar bills. And the police report, had we read into it further, not wanting to bore our audience to death, talks about counterfeit dollar bills. And some other people have talked about counterfeit dollar bills, which is incorrect because the legal definition of a counterfeit is something that is illegally manufactured with intent to pass without objection in the trade as a bill. And that's illegal. That's a violation of federal law. And the Treasury Department actually is responsible for enforcing that law. These are obviously, and this isn't the greatest picture in the world, but this is the bills we're talking about. And there's a big picture of a rubber ducky in the middle of it.
I do want to say that defense you gave was beautiful. And I want to say anybody who's thinking of printing out fake money, be sure to include a disclaimer saying this is not a real bill and hire Andrew if you need help.
It is actually illegal to even print a dollar bill. I don't know if it's enforced. I've never heard of it being enforced. But if you took a dollar bill or $100 bill and put it in the photocopier and pushed the button, that is actually illegal. But by any definition, if you see these bills with a rubber ducky on them, come on now, give me a break.
Monopoly money.
Now here's two rubber duckies. One is FKR for Free Karen Read, and the other one is green with a TB for Turtle Boy, probably her biggest supporter anywhere in the planet. Rubber duckies are even showing up in Boston. Here's a rubber ducky outside Fenway Park. Poor Red Sox, they're done.
Very fashionable rubber ducky.
A pink rubber ducky. And then here's another rubber ducky that showed up on a wall somewhere. That looks like a PowerPoint. No, that looks like a Photoshop to me. I don't know. But I really don't know. But
in the rubber, it's kind of funny too, because I'm sure people watching this are probably like, where are they even getting the rubber duckies from? It's actually kind of funny because in a lot of places where they have crane machines in New Hampshire, you might be able to find, at least, I don't know if Massachusetts is the same, but you'll be able to find crane machines that only have ducks, like in the Mall of New Hampshire. I'm pretty sure there's one of these. It's like only rubber ducks, and it's like a play until you win type thing. So the rubber duckies are in abundance in New England. So those pictures made me crack up.
Well, before we did this, I actually went to one of the stores in town. I didn't have a lot of time to do my research, and people are always saying, "Do your research, do your research." So I went to one of the stores in town and went to the toy department. They did not have rubber duckies. And then I messaged back and forth with a friend of mine who works at Walmart, and she wasn't sure because she works in a different department and very busy in that department. She said Walmart might have them, but if you read into the police report, deep into the police report, there was an admission that these were bought online. One of the women that was spreading them around and is now facing charges in Stoughton District Court. She bought a bag of 300 rubber duckies from Amazon.com. So if you want rubber duckies, go to Amazon.com. And I'm not a salesperson for them. I'm just like pointing that out. And yes, I did do my research to see if I could, find them, but I did not. So now, interestingly, the journalists are having a lot of fun with this story. So don't give us a hard time for, not taking this seriously enough. Howie Carr, our friend. The rubber duckies are quacking Free Karen Read in Canton. There is Trooper Yuri Buchanan, who lost 5 days of vacation over an underling's texts in the Karen Read case. Howie has a way with words. If rubber duckies are outlawed, only outlaws will have rubber duckies. And he goes on to say certain things that I don't know if we really want to repeat them because, we might get into some trouble. Rubber duckies in Canton. Forget all of the Mass State Police's endless other scandals. Too numerous to chronicle here. Troopers on the job. Sergeant Yuri Buchanan is the lead sleuth in the state police's elite rubber ducky detail. Now, we already talked about the Canton Police 36-page report, but apparently the Massachusetts State Police have gotten in on the gig. And Sergeant Buchanan and our friend Trooper Proctor actually went to a woman's home and started questioning her. Buchanan. So I just want to get it from you where the ducks came from. So the ducks you had in your possession, where did they come from? Where did you get these little ducks? So you purchased them on Amazon? When did you purchase them? So there's the answer to your question, Lainey.
I'd be crying and screaming at that point. It's just like, I didn't even know it was that serious, officer.
So, Sergeant Buchanan, the supervisor of Trooper Michael Proctor, actually goes to the woman's home and starts questioning her. Buchanan, did you write the FKR on that duck? Woman, I'm not sure. I could have.
Slay.
Buchanan, you could have. So you wrote the FKR on the duck, and then you left it in front of the killer jailbird politician's business. You see how that looks? So Howie's comment, it looks like the First Amendment to me. At worst, littering, right? I mean,
not too serious. Yeah.
So imagine this, state police trooper Buchanan with a gun on his belt goes to this woman's front door, knocks on the front door, and starts asking questions like, my superiors are going to want to know. The court would want to know. So that's why I have to ask these questions. The woman says, the court for ducks, Buchanan. The message being Karen Read was framed, which is true, and that makes it even more verboten to say, like the Fifth Amendment, the First Amendment is kaput in Norfolk County. That's Howie's interjection. But Buchanan continues questioning this woman on her doorstep. Did you purchase these ducks for a certain reason? Why? What's the reason why you purchased these tiny little ducks? Mother says, I have children. We have crates of toys. And I'm sure any mother in the audience, any parent in the audience can identify with that. Buchanan, you still took it upon yourself to write a message, FKR, free Karen Read, and leave it on a little duck. You did that. You still, at the very least, littered. You deposited rubbish in the street. Young mother says, charge me with littering. I don't know what else to tell you. Buchanan, did you leave any ducks anywhere else? And Howie interjects. Finally, the woman's husband arrived to find his wife being stalked by this armed, menacing, $202,000 a year crew cut fiend, Howie's words, not mine. The woman regained her composure enough to push back against his latest misogynistic bullying. Woman, I've been thinking about, how is this a state police matter and not a Canton police matter? Buchanan, we investigate homicides, and this being relative to the homicide investigation. Woman, too bad she didn't say, well, what about the Sandra Birchmore homicide?
For
you guys
real?
kind of dropped that one, didn't you, dude? But she says, woman, see, to me, this feels like intimidation. I feel intimidated by you showing up at my house with a gun, and all of this for putting down a duck instead of the Canton police coming. You come to my house about a little duck that was put down. Buchanan, we have to enforce the laws and maintain order and civil order in our society, because if we don't, the next episode of I'm not saying with this case, but the next episode that happens will be 10 times worse because nothing was done right now. So
how is this, realistically, and the person saying just charge me with littering, like, honestly, I don't understand how anybody's going to these people's houses and thinking that this is going to be better for them in their case. This is not them coming to a solution. This is them making the situation infinitely worse. Who gave this person permission to do this? This is not a good idea. You do not want to be interfering with regular random people. This is not making the police look good. Where is your, is there nobody monitoring this? How did this happen?
It's really hard to understand, based on all that we saw in the Karen Read case. The police really, and objectively speaking, made fools of themselves on the stand. 4 were investigated. The investigation against one of them was dropped. 2 of them had their wrists, slapped, as we pointed out in a previous episode, losing 3 shifts or 5 vacation days when they get a ton of them, and the Sergeant Buchanan making over $200,000 a year, and he's investigating rubber duckies left on a bench outside a pizza joint. I mean, I think we've said enough about that, but it's just, it's just one more bizarre incident. It's one more thing. You and I both have extended family members in law enforcement, and we have full respect for law enforcement. But when you see something like this, you just got to hang your head in your hands. And I think we've said enough.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, obviously, thank you to the people who watch our channel. We appreciate this. It's horrible to see this because there's a lot of crimes happening every single day, a lot of people hurting people, and annoying as this may be, is it really that serious for so much effort to be putting into this? Is this really helping the community? Is this really even just helping the image of the police?
Now, this morning when I was putting this episode together and doing my research, I was looking for props, and all I could find in my house was when my daughter moved out, she left a whole bunch of stuff. One of the things she left out at the time, I thought it was a rubber ducky, but then I washed it and it's a Tweety bird.
It's bird adjacent. Ducks are kind of birds.
But thank you. Lainey didn't leave us down, and she came up with these rubber duckies. But you better be careful on the way home. You don't put them on a bench anywhere. You might get accused of witness tampering.
Actually, if I the idea that me just being myself, that I could just leave this duck anywhere and possibly have police coming after me is kind of horrifying. It's with my luck, because one, I don't do crimes, but it's just it's the dumbest things you do that will get you in trouble. This is not productive to society.
And we talked about the woman that was accosted at her front door. The other fellow that's now facing charges and will be in the Stoughton District Court, they actually tracked him down through those license plate readers that use AI to check out the license plates and then report back to the police whose it is, where they live, and then they went to the house and went through his trash. And again, dark humor, but the fact that they let the Sandra Birchmore case just kind of go by them and not do much of an investigation at all just shows you that there's something rotten in Canton, and there are some investigations that are going on. There are select board and audit board hearings that are pretty hot, and you can see them elsewhere on YouTube. And the town really needs to hang its head in shame. The voters need to clean house, get all new people in, and maybe they should take a look at the police department. But anyhow, I think we've said enough about rubber duckies. Any other closing thoughts, Lainey Law?
It just shows where the police priorities lie in Canton, and that they might just be a bunch of quacks.
And I hoping that I do see some of those little peace rocks and flower rocks as I go on a little walk this weekend. But please, no rubber duckies. Don't leave your rubber duckies around town, all right?
I was going to say I wanted to make rocks, but now I'm going to get arrested potentially. Now I'm scared.
Somehow the rocks have amnesty. I don't know.
I don't know. Don't paint FKR on a rock.
No, not in Canton.
Not in Canton.
And say it right. It's Canton.
Canton.
Whether you are in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comments section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.